Okay, so over the past couple of days, in uh, in part two of Unit One, we looked at the differences between like what democracy really is and what republicanism is, and the fact that when we talk about American democracy, what we're really talking about is republicanism. We looked briefly at the differences between politically being left and right and the theory of the linear idea of politics where everything is on a scale of opposites, and the horseshoe theory, which says that as political beliefs get more and more extreme, they become more and more similar to each other. And we also did a brief overview of four very influential people in American politics and government and economics, um, with Thomas Hobbes and um, Adam Smith sort of setting the foundation for the Declaration and the Constitution. And then two German philosophers, Karl Marx and Friedrich Nietzsche, really sort of setting up the development of political extremism that eventually finds its way to America. What we're going to do right now is hop into part three, where I'm hoping that all of this will sort of tie in together for you. So let's look at this. Let's go back to the very sort of beginning of the year when we were first reviewing the Declaration of Independence, largely based on a lot of theories of political philosophers John Locke and Thomas Hobbes, really set up this idea of inalienable or unalienable rights belonging to people that were given to us by our Creator, not by government. And it really set forth the idea that government is a creation of people to protect them and to protect their interests from other people taking them or abusing them. The Constitution attempted to set up a form of government that really put this in play. In the way that the Constitution was laid out, we really see the principles of unalienable rights and government being derived from the consent of the governed, which are very Hobbesian ideas to some degree. But built into this as well, okay, this deliberate choice to make a republican form of government, not a democracy, and to make a limited form of government, which is actually against Hobbes's idea of this like all-powerful institution, but a government nonetheless that derives its ability to rule from the agreement of the people. Built into this implicitly, so it's never sat down and they never sit out there and write, according to the beliefs of Adam Smith, we are going to follow. No, that's not what they do. But it's written throughout the entirety of the Constitution. The idea of a free market-based economy and a market system. And really tying into this is the concept of property ownership. Now, if you guys remember from last year, one of the original qualifications to be able to vote was that you had to own property. This is largely because what the founders recognized is something that is really present in a modern charity organization called Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity will give you a house, no charge. All you have to do is meet certain qualifications. But the real caveat on getting that house, that the real like requirement, even above and beyond financial need, is that you agree to help build that house. Because what Habitat for Humanity realized was that unless people were somehow invested in something, they wouldn't care if it failed or succeeded or was good or bad, because they didn't have to do anything for it. This is the same logic behind the founding of our nation. The founding fathers all basically realized that if Americans were to have an interest in the government succeeding, they would be more actively involved in making sure it succeeded. And one of the ways to do this was to only allow those people who actually owned property, who had a vested financial interest in seeing the government work out and succeed, in being able to make decisions. So, how does this relate into what's the best opportunity? Well, it relates into this concept here of the free market. This is jumping into part 3. What is the free market? Why do we want it? How do we keep it? There are 9 characteristics, and I have this bubble graphic organizer for you on Google Classroom. I would like you to fill it out if you didn't get a chance to do so. So we're going to go clockwise around the circle here. This is a generalization, but there's 9 characteristics here that we're kind of looking at. Number 1, most importantly, the free market is a free, cooperative, and peaceful process. The people who are involved in market activities do so voluntarily. They agree to be partners of a medium of exchange. I give you this, you give me that. Nobody's forcing us to do it. If either of us don't like the terms, we walk away or we negotiate a change in the terms. In a free market, you are free to choose what you do for a living. Nobody tells you what you have to do. Now, sometimes you may not have a lot of choice in what you do because there's only certain jobs available and you have a moral obligation to provide for yourself and or your family. But you're free to choose that work and to pursue a way of getting better and advancing your career. You are free to be an investor. You can use your money to put it in the bank to grow, to buy ownership in other companies, to speculate and loan money out to people in the form of public offerings like Kickstarter or Shark Tank or Fund Indiegogo, any of those things, GoFundMe. You're free to be an entrepreneur. Do you have an idea for a product, a service that nobody else does, or that you can do it better than other people do, or provide an alternative? You are free to be able to do that if you can get people to back you up and you have the money to do it. How do you do that? Because you're free to you're free to engage in capital formation. What that means is you can invest your money in other people's stuff and you can ask that they invest their money in your ideas. You are free to earn profits. Once you pay off your bills and you meet the financial obligations that you have, you keep everything that's left over. You're free to compete. Nobody can tell you that you cannot offer an alternative good or service to somebody, provided legally you've met the requirements. You are free to do that, and you can go ahead and do it and try to do a better job than they do. You are free to buy, own, use, and sell private property. If it's yours, you can do with it what you want. You can buy stuff just to collect it and never use it. You can buy stuff to use it, and it may lose its value because you're using it, but that's okay. You understood that going into it. You are free to buy something and then resell it later to others because it's yours. And last but not least, you're free to set prices. You establish the value of your product or service. Nobody does that for you. Nobody can tell you otherwise. These are aspects and elements of what we would call the free market. Now, there's 3 types of economies. There is the free market. In the free market, there's a hyperlink here. I'll actually post the videos so you don't have to worry about me having to show them to you. In a true free market, people, and the term for people in a market are called consumers, the people who use or consume what's there. Consumers have all the control over what is available, how much it is, the demand for it, and what's going to be going on. Now, how do people who are buying control availability and supply? It's simple. They can choose not to purchase some things or to purchase other things. That affects the supply of stuff. Availability is affected by the demand and the ability to meet that demand. So people have a role to play in all this. A command market is where the government is in complete control of the economy. The government sets the prices, it says how much is available, it tells you if you can actually get at those goods and services. You may want air conditioning. The government says that's nice, that's not available to you. Sorry, not available. Examples of command markets would be places like Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea. Then there's something called the controlled market. The controlled market is a system where there is some degree of government regulation over the economic activities and market activities. Now, while this is one of those terms, like when people talk about democracy, what they're really talking about is republicanism. When people talk about we live in a free market economy, what they really are talking is that we live in a controlled market. There is government control over stuff. And honestly, to some degree, all of us want that. You want to know that when you go to the store and you buy meat, that what you're buying is real meat. It's not manufactured and grown in a laboratory. It says beef, and in actuality, it's chicken. It doesn't say chicken, in actuality, it's pigeon. Okay? You want to go to the store, and when you buy medication and medicine, you want to know it's really medicine. A great example of this is that for those of you who may not be aware, Coca-Cola's name is derived from the fact that for the first year of its existence, its main ingredient was cocaine. It was a medicine. And then when they found out that cocaine had bad effects, they pulled it out. But you want to know that what you're buying is really what the stuff says it is. You want to know that. That's where the government regulation comes in. If you pay tax on something, that's a government regulation. So, to some degree or another, there is a point where people want government regulation. I'll take it even one step further. People who are big supporters of free market economics, most of them, there's always the exceptional whack job who really is like, no, it should be completely free. Patent laws. If you invent a product, you want to know that you have the right to sell and market it and people can't steal it from you. By definition, in a free market, in a completely true free market, that doesn't happen. There's no patent laws. So if there are any laws or regulations at all, it's not a true free market. The US is a controlled market. But when we talk about what kind of economy we have, everybody says we live in a free market. It's like democracy. American democracy is really Roman republicanism. But we conflate the two of them together. Same thing with controlled market and free market here. So the best possible situation is where there is just enough government regulation to protect people, but for the most part, everything is open to consumers and it's all controlled by supply and demand. So I know this is really technical, but that's kind of how this rolls. Okay. What we're going to look at in the next lesson are the things that make free market economics challenging and difficult, and quite frankly, are enemies of free market economics. Peace and love.